This video is about deposing the expert witness. Before you sit down and depose the expert witness, you want to procure their complete file. And what I recommend that you do is that you do two things. One, you serve a subpoena on the expert. And two, you serve the opposing party a request for production for the expert complete file. And you do these simultaneously. This is why. If you serve a request for production on the opposing party, they may say, well, we don't have control of that expert. And suddenly, you do not get any or little of their file. Conversely, if you only serve a subpoena, they'll say, well, we represent the expert and you can't serve them subpoena. You have to do a request for production. So by doing both simultaneously, they're kind of caught in the middle. They have to pick or choose one, and you have to produce the expert complete file. You never want to depose an expert before reviewing their file. Not just the report, but everything in the file itself. So do everything you can to procure that file. In addition to procuring their complete file, you want to procure the expert's latest version of their curriculum vitae. You want to procure copies of books, papers, or articles they've written that are relevant to your subject matter. You want to procure prior deposition transcripts. There are companies out there, by the way, that keep and collate prior expert deposition transcripts that you can procure for a small fee. Also, I recommend that you reach out to your local or national bar association because they may have expert databases. And what I also do is that I reach out to fellow attorneys that I know that practice in the same area I do that probably have prior deposition transcripts of the experts I'm going to be deposing. In addition, procure all relevant standards of care in terms of standards that are put out by statutes or regulations by third parties that apply to your case. And you want to see if that expert's opinions have ever been stricken or limited in any way. So do a Westlaw search for the expert, as well as a Google search, to see if they've ever been challenged either in a Daubert or Frye basis, or they've been stricken because they do not have the qualifications they claim they have. In other words, you're trying to find everything you can to undermine the credibility or expertise of the expert. This takes time, by the way. This is a lot of documents and a lot of information. So once you've gotten all this together, what I suggest you do is you sit down with a paralegal or a legal assistant and organize it all. Because you don't want to be sitting at deposition going through one document after the next, one after the next. You want to have everything controlled and collated and sorted out in such a way that it's useful for you to go through your questioning of the expert. And so have them put together for you a chronology, have them put together all the impeachment materials, prior deposition transcripts, prior orders limiting their testimony, admissions they've made on the record, maybe even at trial. And another thing which I love to do, especially if it's a medical expert or an expert who's been published, is I pull all of the journal articles that are relevant to my case. And often I find that they've made a statement in those journal articles that help me immensely. And so there's really no way they're going to deny or refute something that they said or wrote. And what I'll typically do is that before I get into the heart of the deposition, I will get them to confirm that they've written, let's say, a certain article, and they've made a certain statement in that article. And if it's a videotape, I will hold up the article and read it into the record. And of course, they'll have to agree with it. And later on in the course of the deposition, I'll bring that article back up and the statements they've made that may contradict the opinions they're giving in this case. And at that point, they've already been locked in. On the one hand, they've already written a peer-reviewed article that supports your position. Two, they've acknowledged on the record that that article is still relevant and still pertinent to your case. And without realizing, they've actually hurt themselves and undermined their cause of action. Remember, when you're deposing an expert, there's two primary goals. You're undermining their expertise. You're trying to show that they are not qualified to render the opinions they are giving so that you can move to strike them. And two, you're trying to undermine the opinions themselves so that you can lay the foundation for a Daubert or a Frye challenge, depending on what jurisdiction you're in. And so every question you direct to them is that you're trying to chip away at their expertise and at the opinions that they've put out. If nothing else, if you can't achieve striking them or striking their opinions, you've shown that their opinions probably aren't as strong as they claim, and you'll be able to use that when you cross-examine them at trial. So gather all you can about an expert, go through it in detail, create a binder with all the relevant documents you plan on showing them, including prior testimony and prior statements they've given, cross-examine them on their own testimony and deposition to block them in. And then, once it's all said and done, you will have the information you need to strike them, to move to exclude their opinions, or at least show the jury that they do not have a basis for those opinions.